Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. Today, we're talking about Raidraptors, and I'm going to cut to the chase as soon as possible. See, this is the fourth sponsored video for the Alexis YT GoFundMe, which has now been successfully funded, you wonderful people. And the last one has been provided to you all by Legendary Raven here on YouTube, or Corvus Corax on Discord. But they've requested an archetype that is by far the most daunting I've ever had to cover in the history of this channel. So without further ado, I bring you one half of the Raiders Legacy, Shea Obsidian's New Age Blackwings, the Avian Aviators of Annihilation, Raidraptors. But before we continue, a quick reminder to please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed my content so far. 1,500 by the end of the year is the goal, and you can help make it happen. We also have a Discord where we can hang out and talk about Buster Blader, and you can also follow me on Twitter if you want to stay in the know on channel updates and my bad takes. Thank you for your patience, and now, back to the video. So, what exactly are Raidraptors? I did make a quip earlier about their similarities to Crow Hogan's Ace Monsters, and what Blackwings are to Synchros, Raidraptors are to Xyz. By and large, they're a group of level 4 dark winged beast monsters, with some exceptions that we'll bring up as they become relevant, and they usually have a way to summon themselves to the field to give you more material to make bigger and better birds, using a variety of rank up magics to help them soar to new heights. Because of this, I'll be skipping over the attack and defense values of all our main deck monsters, unless it's relevant to their effect in some way. Very few of our rookie Raidraptors are going to be putting on a show in the battle phase after all, and we've got to save time where we can, because we're talking about at least, 48 cards. Why did I open myself up to this? Thankfully, Raidraptors are split into loose categories, based on different designations of birds. The first one, and arguably the most important, are the Lanius. They're mostly, though not all, level 4, and their main purpose is to facilitate your Xyz summons, either by throwing material onto the board that you can use, or recovering and searching that material to set up for those purposes. First on the list is Vanishing Lanius. Once per turn, during the main phase in which they're normal or special summoned, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Raidraptor from your hand. Notably, this isn't a hard once per turn, and it doesn't exclude using the effect on other copies of itself, so drawing multiples isn't actually that bad. In fact, if you do, you can end up Yosenju summoning more of them onto the field until you end on a different Raidraptor. It also sets up the stage for the odd naming conventions of the theme. Like, there's nothing about this that's vanishing, you're summoning more of them. It's also useful in bypassing the restrictions on Fuzzy Lanius. If you control a Raidraptor, except another copy of itself, you can special summon them from your hand, and if they're sent to the grave, you can add another copy of itself from the deck to your hand. These effects are a hard once per turn, and if you use either, you're locked into only special summoning Raidraptors for the entire turn. And since it doesn't say for the rest of the turn, its prospects for inclusion may be a bit fuzzy. Someone that's a little less restrictive is a new inclusion, Strangle Lanius, though their name is a bit more morbid. You can special summon them from your hand if you control any dark monster, but this does lock you into only dark monster special summons for the rest of the turn. So not only does it have the for the rest of the turn clause, being limited to only darks is hardly a handicap. Also, if you're further along in your game plan and control an Xyz monster that has a dark Xyz monster as material, you can target a level 4 or lower Raidraptor in your grave and special summon them, though their effects are negated. I'm a huge fan of this one because it starts out as an extender to get your plays off the ground and has a win more effect tacked on that you can use to close things out. So hey, at least I now know why it's named that. It helps to put a stranglehold on the game. Boy, that's dark. If we're looking for more Xyz synergies, we also have Singing Lanius. If you control an Xyz monster, you can special summon them from your hand. No fuss, no muss. Another special summon from the hand that's a bit more complicated is Pain Lanius, the only one of its group that's a level 1, but we can fix that pretty easily. They can't be used as Xyz material, except for the summon of a winged beast, and while they're in your hand, you can target a Raidraptor you control that has a level on activation, and on resolution, you take damage equal to the targeted monster's attack or defense, whichever is lower, then summon them from hand, then their level matches the current level of the targeted monster. Thankfully, with some proper sequencing, you can avoid taking too much damage, and it is useful to have more extenders that you can use, but yeah, it is kind of a pain. But we can share the pain with our opponent using some of our attack-oriented Lanius, one of which is Sharp. That's its name, not a statement on the quality of the edges, though considering the kinds of things I've seen done with these cards, I wouldn't be surprised. They have 1700 attack and 1000 defense, and once per turn, during the turn they're normal or special summoned, you can change an attack position monster your opponent controls to defense position. This can be very helpful in enabling its second effect, because during main phase 2, if they attacked, you can revive a target Raidraptor in your grave. Notably, this effect can be used on turns after the one it's been summoned, so the longer it sticks around to swing, the more advantage you'll get. We also have Tribute Lanius, which has nothing to do with tributing. Do you see what I mean about the weird names? They have 1800 attack and 400 defense, and during the main phase in which they are normal or special summoned, you can Foolish Burial any Raidraptor card from your deck to your grave, which will end up being very important very soon. During your main phase 2, if Tribute destroyed an opponent's monster by battle that turn, you can add a rank up magic spell from your deck to your hand, specifically a quick play one. However, it does lock you into only special summoning Raidraptors for the rest of the turn, though it is already your main phase 2, so I don't see that as much of an issue. I like to think of Tribute like Strangle. Binning a Raidraptor is already really good, and if you manage to trigger its second effect, then you have a little extra card advantage to go into the rest of your plays with, especially because it can search a recent addition to your rank up arsenal, but we'll get to that in a bit. Right now, we need to talk about probably the best card you can send to the grave with Tribute, Mimicry. Once per turn, during the main phase of the turn it's normal or special summoned, you can increase the level of all Raidraptors you currently control by 1. Despite having a lot of level 4s, Raidraptor Xyz span a wide variety of ranks, so Mimicry can help us reach our rank 5s without necessarily needing a rank up magic to do it. But the main reason we're running them is for their second effect. They can be banished from the grave during the main phase of the turn they're sent to the grave to add any Raidraptor card from your deck to your hand. This basically makes Tribute a 1-card starter, allowing you to Foolish Mimicry to search for any of your summoned from hand extenders. All in a day's work for DJ Mimicry. Now, this isn't a Lanius per se, but it is a level 4 Raidraptor, and it is the only one of its category, so let's quickly go over Napalm Dragonius. Once per turn, you can have them burn your opponent for 600, but your monster effects can't be activated for the rest of the turn, except for Raidraptors. It can also float, letting you special summon a Raidraptor from your deck, but its effects are negated. It might be a nice way to cap off a summoning chain, doing some extra burn damage to help close out the game, and you can sequence it so it doesn't keep you from using any of your non-Raidraptor effects, but since it doesn't do anything to help your actual game plan, I'm hesitant to recommend it. It's more of a drag than anything else. We also have another Raidraptor that's technically untyped, but if I had to pick, it'd be a Lanius. Raider's Wing counts as both a Raidraptor and a The Phantom Knights card. Gotta love anime connections. If they're in your hand or grave, you can detach a material from a Dark Xyz you control to special summon them, but they're banished when they leave the field, which you can ignore as long as you use them as Xyz material. Also, if they're Xyz material for a monster whose original attribute is Dark, they grant that monster an effect that makes them immune to targeting by your opponent. And I think that's just super cool. They're repeatable Xyz material, though you do need to already have an Xyz to detach from, though they will usually have a spare one after using their effect. And granting targeting immunity to monsters that might not otherwise have it is incredible, especially since it doesn't need to be the direct Xyz material, it just needs to be attached. It's an excellent wingman. Our next category are the Eagles. Not a large group and not particularly helpful, it just seems to be around to allow for some rank 3 plays. If Skull Eagle is detached to activate an Xyz monster's effect, you can banish them from the grave to add a Raidraptor card from your grave to your hand. Also, if they're used as Xyz material while on the board, they grant the monster they make an effect that boosts them by 300 attack when they're Xyz summoned. And for the longest time, you could only use them and Pain Lanius to make our rank 3, but now we have a new addition that can help. Heal Eagle can be special summoned from your hand as long as you control at least one monster, and all of them are Raidraptors. You can also banish them from the grave to add back any Raidraptor spell or trap from your grave to your hand. They're a pretty easy to summon extender, and their level 3 status is offset by the fact that they can be used for the theme's Link monster and their grave effect. And yeah, it's actually called Heal Eagle, and not some kind of localization to avoid calling it Hell Eagle. And all of these can be used to Xyz summon Fiend Eagle, who has 1000 attack and 0 defense, and requires 2 level 3 Raidraptors. Once per turn, you can detach a material to target a monster your opponent controls, and burn them for damage equal to that targeted monster's attack. Now, in a vacuum, this effect has the chance to close out a game all by itself, but not much else. However, if you start them as the first rung of an Xyz climb, it makes much more sense. Spoilers, but quite a few Raidraptor Xyz monsters burn and destroy monsters, so Fiend Eagle essentially lets you double dip on the damage. Is it worth it? I don't think so. But if you manage to pull it off, it's a fun way to fiend some wins. Not to say that rank 3 Raidraptors had no other support. The first entry in our next category, Vultures, is arguably all about helping them take flight. But as a whole, they're a bit more macabre, having effects that trigger by tributing cards or taking damage. Wild Vulture is a level 6, for some reason, that you contribute the turn they're normal or special summoned to summon 2 Raidraptors from your hand and or grave, whose levels equal exactly 6. And it seems very strange to me that they didn't expand more on rank 3 Raidraptors. Like, it's going so far out of its way to get wild into the mix, and you only have like, what, 2 differently named targets? That's wild. Necro Vulture lets you tribute a Raidraptor to add a rank up magic from your grave to your hand, but you can't exceed summon for the rest of the turn, except by the effect of a rank up magic spell card, so unless your next move is to summon your finisher, it's dead on arrival. There's also Avenge Vulture, who you can summon from your hand if you take damage, but it locks you into only summoning Raidraptors from your extra deck that turn. This is likely meant to combo with Pain Lanius, essentially ending on at least 3 material, but it's like the only card it synergizes with, and with stats like that, it ain't avenging much of anything. The next category are the Strixes. These are usually utility monsters that handle setup and other sundry effects. Booster Strix is a Raidraptor hand trap that you can banish from your hand when a Raidraptor you control is targeted for an attack, destroying the attacking monster. The effect doesn't target, which is cool, but it does destroy, which may be a problem. Rudder Strix is another monster that has a lot of reliance on your opponent's attacks. When they're special summoned from the hand by the effect of a Raidraptor card, or normal summoned, you can burn your opponent for 600 damage. If they're attacked, you can special summon up to 2 Raidraptors from your hand, and if you do, they can't be targeted by your opponent for attacks for the rest of the turn. Both of these are not cards I'd want to put in my own deck because I like being in control of my own effects. And here's another weird name. One of them is called Rudder, part of a mechanism used to control a ship. Where are these names coming from? I'm much more of a fan of Last Strix. If a Raidraptor you control battles, while you have any spell or traps on your field or graveyard, and during damage calculation, you can summon them from your hand, then gain 100 life points for each spell and trap you control and is in your grave. Such a weird activation requirement. But despite being only level 1, they have access to a wide variety of extra deck monsters. You contribute Last Strix to special summon any Raidraptor exceeds from your extra deck in defense position, but its effects are negated, they return to the extra deck at the end of the turn, and your opponent doesn't take any battle damage that turn. This is largely used in conjunction with an available rank up magic to turn the temporary monster into a permanent, bigger form, which, once again, is another inappropriate name. It's very clearly not the last part of any combo chain. There are also a couple of extra deck Strixes that are integral to the strategy. Force Strix is a rank 4 with 100 attack and 2000 defense, that requires any 2 level 4 monsters. They gain 500 attack and defense for each other winged beast you control, and once per turn, you can detach a material to add any level 4 dark winged beast from your deck to your hand. So you can use your extenders to summon Force Strix to search more extenders. And guess who has 2 wings and doesn't have a hard once per turn clause? This bird. So the more you can make, the more you can search. It's a real tour de force. We also have Wise Strix, a Link 2 with 1400 attack, requiring 2 Dark Winged Beast monsters. If they're Link summoned, you can special summon a level 4 Dark Winged Beast from your deck in defense position, but its effects are negated. Also, it can't be used as Link material, so no free Link 3 this time. Also, if a Raidraptor Xyz monster you control activates their effect, you can set a rank up magic directly from your deck to the field, and if it's a quick play spell, it can be activated that turn. Wise Strix gives you the unprecedented ability to not only access more Xyz monsters, but to rank them up exactly how you want them to as well, so make sure to plan out the combos this can enable, because proper application would be rather wise. And now it's time to talk about all the monsters you'll be using those rank up magics on. The Falcons. These are the game enders, and we'll be looking to them to close things out in explosive fashion. Let's start with our rank 4s. Rise Falcon has 100 attack and 2000 defense, requiring 3 level 4 winged beast monsters, and they can attack each of your opponent's special summoned monsters once each. Now, that seems pretty suspect for a 100 attack monster. And you'd be right, because you can detach a material to target one of your opponent's special summoned monsters, and Rise Falcon gains attack equal to that monster's attack as long as it's face up on the field. So Rise can boost itself so it's 100 points higher than your opponent's strongest monster, targeting protection notwithstanding, then sweep their entire board. And if we need to get over something that does have targeting protection, might I suggest Blade Burner Falcon? They have 1000 attack and defense, and only need 2 level 4 winged beasts. If they're Xyz summoned and your opponent's life points are at least 3000 higher than yours, you can have Blade Burner increase their attack by 3000, making them a whole ass Obelisk the Tormentor. Also, if they destroy a monster by battle, you can detach any number of material from them to destroy exactly as many monsters your opponent controls. Now, in most cases, I would recommend Utopia the Lightning over Blade Burner, since the attack boost can be responded to, but with the amount of lockouts you could potentially run up against, it's good to know you have on-theme cards that approximate that you can access. But despite the name, it doesn't do any burn damage. Raidraptor naming conventions strike again. This next monster, much like Raider's Wing, isn't really typed, but I feel like Raider's Knight fits in with the rest of our rank 4s. They require 2 level 4 dark monsters, and they have 2000 attack and 0 defense, and they're always treated as a Raidraptor or a The Phantom Knights card. You can detach a material from them to either rank up or rank down Raider's Knight by 1, as long as the new monster is a The Phantom Knights, Raidraptor, or Xyz Dragon monster, but it is destroyed during the end phase of your opponent's next turn. Now, this is likely to be used to make Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon, who not only has a crazy way to close out games, but also bypasses the drawback of the self-destruction effect. But in Raidraptors, we have a few other options. You can even get into Fiend Eagle with them, thereby continuing to tank the usefulness of your level 3 Raidraptors. Why did they even bother? Now we've got our rank 5s, but first, let's go over the rank up magics that'll get us there. First is Raptor's Force, a quick play spell that can be activated during a turn when a Raidraptor Xyz monster is destroyed and sent to the grave while you controlled it. When it's activated, you target any Raidraptor Xyz monster in your grave, special summon it, then Xyz summon a Raidraptor that's 1 rank higher than it, using the new monster as material. Now, it's important to note here that the activation requirement here isn't an activation timing. You don't have to use it immediately after one of your Raidraptor Xyz are destroyed, and it doesn't even have to be the one that was destroyed. So it gives you a few options, but I feel the same way about Raptor's Force as I do about Booster and Rudder Strix. I could engineer the destruction of my own cards, but I'm having too much fun blowing up my opponent's cards, thank you very much. And I doubt your opponent's going to let you trigger this in a profitable way, so this is largely a pass for me. You could try Revolution Force, which is a bit more direct and has the opportunity for some hilarious counterplay. It's a quick play spell that you can activate during your turn, targeting one of your Raidraptors, then Xyz summoning a Raptor 1 rank higher than it from your extra deck on top of it. However, if you activate it on your opponent's turn, you can target an Xyz monster they control with no Xyz material on it, take control of it, then rank it up into a Raidraptor that's 1 rank higher than it. Now, this has gotten more and more situational as time's gone on, which means the first effect being a standard rank up is more important than ever, but recent, powerful, splashable Xyz monsters tend to flicker on and off the field, and that means losing all their material. Dingirsu is unfortunately not a valid target, at least not until we get a rank 9 Raidraptor, but Time Thief Redoer is notoriously slippery, and chaining Revolution Force to their ejection effect is a great way to pin them down. The last rank up magic for this section is Raid Force, our first normal spell of the bunch. This one lets you rank up any Xyz monster you control into a Raidraptor that's 1 rank higher, so this will be very useful if you need to branch off into your off-theme options, then bring them back into the Raidraptor fold. Also, you can banish Raid Force from your grave and 1 Raidraptor card in your hand to return any other target rank up magic from your grave to your hand. This one is probably the most reliable we've seen so far, allowing you to pivot your game plan to use broader problem solvers before funneling into your win condition. And because they can help buy back a spent rank up magic, it can help you stack up a single Xyz or go wide by ranking up multiple. Oh, and insert your best rank up magic Raid Shadow Legends joke right here. Unfortunately, I think all the good ones are taken. So how about those rank 5s? First is Blaze Falcon, sporting 1000 attack and 2000 defense that requires 3 level 5 winged beasts. While they have Xyz material, they can attack directly, and if they inflict battle damage, you can target a monster your opponent controls and destroy it. Or, you know, you can detach a material to rain fire upon your foes, destroying as many special summon monsters your opponent controls as possible, then burning them for 500 damage for every monster destroyed. That's what I call taking out your opponent in a blaze of glory. Next is Stranger Falcon, with 2000 attack and defense, requiring any 2 level 5 monsters as material. However, you're gonna want to make sure you rank them up, because their first effect is only active if they have an Xyz monster as Xyz material. While it does, you can detach a material to target an opponent's monster, destroy it, and burn your opponent for damage equal to the destroyed monster's original attack. But even without its first effect, it still makes for a great floater. If they're destroyed by an opponent's card while in your possession, you can target and special summon another Raidraptor Xyz monster in your grave, then attach Stranger Falcon to them, making them live. And considering that no less than 2 of your boss monsters are unaffected by card effects, being able to put them back into rotation is a heck of a threat, strange as it may be. Next we have the rank 6s, and thankfully we have rank up magics that can help get us there from rank 4. First we have Skip Force, which lets you rank up a Raidraptor Xyz you control to another that's 2 ranks higher. Also, during a main phase in which it wasn't sent to the grave, you can banish Skip Force and a Raidraptor monster from your grave to target and special summon a Raidraptor Xyz in your grave. So it can act as a way to revive the Raidraptor you made if it gets sent to the grave, or bring another one to assist on board if your opponent skips on answering the first. We also have a card that used to be a competitive nightmare, Soul Shave Force. You have to pay half your life points to activate it, but it's more than worth it. You special summon a Raidraptor Xyz from your grave, then rank it up into any Xyz monster that's 2 ranks higher than it, giving you a huge range of options, but one of the most threatening is Cyber Dragon Infinity. Raidraptors don't have a lot of choices when it comes to reactive cards, so being able to add the Cyber Snecky to your roster will be important for shaving off your opponent's options. So what rank 6 options do we have? First is Revolution Falcon, armed with 2000 attack and 3000 defense, requiring 3 level 6 winged beasts. You can detach a material from them, granting them the ability to attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. However, independent of this, if it battles any opponent special summon monster, that monster's attack and defense drop to 0, meaning they're not likely to be bested in battle anytime soon. And on top of that, if Revolution has a Raidraptor Xyz monster as Xyz material, you can detach a material to target and destroy an opponent's monster, and burn your opponent for half of that monster's attack. This makes for a pretty potent sweeper, essentially giving you spot removal that still does damage and can rough up anything in battle that resists those effects. It's the perfect tool to revolt against your opponent's board. The second rank 6 is Revolution Falcon. Wait a sec, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, Revolution Falcon Air Raid. This is a reference to the effect of Revolution Falcon in the anime, and it's not the first example of a card that's done this either. Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound and Raviel Shimmering Scraper do the same thing. It has the same stats and material requirements as basic Revolution Falcon, but you can bypass all that by discarding a rank up magic and using a rank 5 or lower Raidraptor as a base. When they're Xyz summoned, you can target a monster your opponent controls, destroy it, and if it was face up, burn your opponent for the attack it had on the field. They don't have any of their base versions' other effects, but if they're destroyed in your possession by your opponent, you can special summon regular Revolution Falcon from your extra deck and attach Air Raid to it as material. So you can summon Air Raid as a stepping stone to get to higher ranked monsters, and if your opponent stops you before you can do so, then you get to add an even more fearsome Falcon to add to the fight. This one is a rather new addition, and the only rank 7 Raidraptor to boot, Arsenal Falcon. They have 2500 attack and 2000 defense, requiring any 2 level 7 monsters. Once per turn, you can detach a material to special summon any level 4 winged beast from your deck. They can also declare attacks up to the number of Raidraptor monsters it has as material each turn, and it does not specify it has to be against monsters, so if you can spring this on someone with an open board, that's lights out. And if they're sent to the grave while they have a Raidraptor Xyz as material, you can special summon any other Raidraptor Xyz from your extra deck and attach Arsenal Falcon to them. This monster is like a Swiss Army knife. It does so many cool things, but it is kind of a ridiculous ask to summon. Rank 7 doesn't really play well with many pieces of existing Raidraptor support, but thankfully another new addition makes this card all the easier to summon. Phantom Knight's Rank Up Magic Force is a quick play spell you can activate during the main phase, and it has you banishing dark monsters from your grave, as well as targeting a dark Xyz monster you control. On resolution, you rank them up into a The Phantom Knights, Raidraptor, or Xyz Dragon Xyz monster with a rank equal to the targeted monster, plus the amount of dark monsters you banish from your grave to activate it. However, you are locked into only summoning Xyz monsters from your extra deck for the rest of the turn. So, for instance, if you have the rank 4 Strix and you banish 3 darks from your grave, you can make the rank 7 Arsenal Falcon. It's like rank up a la carte, only banish for what you need. Our next Falcon is rank 8, but let's talk about another rank up magic real quick that'll help us get there. Doom Double Force is a quick play spell that has you targeting a Raidraptor Xyz in your grave that was destroyed by battle that turn. You special summon them, and if you do, they're ranked up into an Xyz monster that has exactly twice its rank. This is another option that can go outside your regular roost of raptors, and while it hasn't resulted in anything as powerful as Soul Shave Force, you'll want to keep it in mind. As for its intended target, Satellite Cannon Falcon, god that's metal, sports 3000 attack and 2000 defense, requiring 2 level 8 winged beasts. If they're Xyz summoned using a Raidraptor as material, you Harpy's Feather Duster your opponent, and they can't respond to it in any way. If they're Xyz summoned using a Raidraptor as material, you can Harpy's Feather Duster your opponent, and they can't respond to it in any way. Also, as a quick effect, you can detach a material from them to target a monster your opponent controls and permanently debuff their attack by 800 for each Raidraptor in your grave. Early Duel Links participants will know the kind of power Wall of Disruption has to blunt a charge from your opponent, and this Orbiting Borb here has it at the ready. I'm telling you, Satellite Cannons come a long way. Alright, time for the big guns. Ultimate Falcon is a rank 10, with 3500 attack and 2000 defense, requiring 3 level 10 winged beasts. Fun fact, there are a total of 5 cards that fit this requirement. 2 are Earthbound Immortals, 2 are Blackwings, and 1 is an instant match win monster that can't be played. Ultimate Falcon is unaffected by other cards' effects, and you can detach a material too for the rest of the turn, debuff all of your opponent's monsters' attack by 1000, and keep your opponent from activating cards or effects. Also, if they have a Raidraptor as Xyz material, they have an effect that triggers during the end phase, where you permanently make all of your opponent's monsters lose 1000 attack, and if they don't happen to have any face-up monsters when you do this, you take the 1000 out of their life points instead. And this is during both players' end phases too, so you can really just sit on this gigantic Towers doppelganger and wait out your opponent as their life points or their monsters dwindle to nothing. What are they gonna do? Dragoons it? Our final monster is, well, Final Fortress Falcon, a rank 12 with 3800 attack and 2800 defense, requiring 3 level 12 winged beast monsters as material. And yes, there is a valid material to make this without a rank up magic. You just have to synchro summon 3 Assault Blackwing Onimaru the Divine Thunder, you know, easy stuff. If they have a Raidraptor Xyz monster as Xyz material, it's unaffected by other cards' effects. Once per turn, you can detach a material to return all of your banished Raidraptor monsters to the grave, which makes more sense in conjunction with its next effect. Up to twice per turn, when Final Fortress destroys a monster by battle, you can banish a Raidraptor Xyz monster in your grave to attack again in a row. So that kind of makes it like the Shave version of Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, without all the, corporate funding. This is certainly more proficient at ending games quickly than Ultimate Falcon, and it is just the right rank for you to summon them from Ultimate Falcon using Skip Force. And honestly, this is probably the first name of the theme I can really get behind, because when this chonky chicken hits board, it's going to be the final thing your opponent sees, one way or another. That covers most of our cards. Now we just need to talk about a few more to raid wrap things up, so get ready for the lightning round. Raidraptor Nest is probably one of your best support cards. It's a continuous spell that lets you add any Raidraptor from your deck or grave to your hand as long as you control at least 2 Raidraptors, and is excellent at regulating your AC. Raidraptor Ultimate Mace is an equipped spell for the theme of all things. It can only be equipped to a Raidraptor, and it gains 1000 attack, which is actually a pretty meaningful bonus in the deck that seeks to attack multiple times with a single monster. However, if the equipped monster is targeted for an attack by a monster that still has a higher attack value, you can add any rank up magic from your deck to your hand, and if you do, you don't take any battle damage. It's a neat effect, but I'm not sure I would dedicate space for Mace in my build, but I would keep some of it in your bag at all times to ward off potential creeps. Raidraptor Call is a normal spell that has you targeting a Raidraptor you control to special summon another from your deck with the same name from your hand or deck in defense position, but you can only special summon Raidraptors the turn you use it. I'm sure it would have been helpful at a time when the deck was hurting for playables, but now the theme has so many extenders that are hard once per turns, it's hard to recommend this call to action. It actually shares a lot of drawbacks with Raidraptor Replica. It's a normal trap that has you targeting a Raidraptor you control and summoning one of the same name from your deck, and if so, as long as you control the monster you summon from this effect, your opponent can't target the original with attacks or effects. Once again, really neat idea, and if the deck leaned more into the having multiples is a good thing idea that Vanishing Lanius started, it might have been worth it, but for now, I'm not going to be substituting the replica for the real thing. Raidraptor Readiness is a normal trap that frustrated me to no end when Raidraptors were first being played. It's a Waboku for your Raidraptors when you activate it on field, and if you have a Raidraptor in your grave, you can banish it from your grave to take no damage that turn, something that was very maddening to see when playing the aggro deck. To be fair, it's likely not as bad now, but having a way to avoid losing the game off of the effective Tribute Lanius, I imagine, would be good in a pinch. Raidraptor Return, on the other hand, was not quite as used. You can activate this normal trap when a Raidraptor you control is destroyed by battle, and it allows you to put a Raidraptor monster from your grave back into your hand. Also, if a face-up Raidraptor you control is destroyed by a card effect, you can banish Return from your grave to add any Raidraptor card from your deck to your hand. So it is eventually an Omni Searcher, but it does rely on your opponent blasting your cards, and I really don't think you're going to get the kind of return on investment that you're looking for here. Raider's Unbreakable Mind is a continuous trap that, as the name has been used before, counts as both the Phantom Knights and a Raidraptor card. When you Xyz summon a monster using a Dark Xyz monster as material, you can target and destroy a card on the field, which can be easily accomplished by using Raider's Knight's effect. If Unbreakable Mind is face up and destroyed by a card effect, you can set any rank up magic spell directly from your deck or grave. The nifty thing here is, if you wanted, you could use the trap's own destruction effect on itself to force the search, but it is still hampered by the fact that it is a trap card, so you won't be pulling this off anytime soon. Remember, it's unbreakable, not unstoppable. Raptor's Gust is a counter trap that you can activate in response to a spell or trap activation while you control a Raidraptor card, negating and destroying it. This is going to be very situational, only really being useful in specific metagames. What I think is far more useful is their newest counter trap, Raidraptor Phantom Knight's Claw. Wait, if they were going to put both names in the title anyway, why would they? Oh, it's not the Phantom Knight's Claw. Okay. Anyway, you can activate it in response to a monster effect activating, detaching a material from a Dark Xyz monster you control. You negate the activation, destroy the monster, and if you do, and the detached material was either the Phantom Knights, Raidraptor, or Xyz Dragon card, you can have one Raidraptor Xyz monster you control gain attack equal to the destroyed monster's original attack. Not only is this searchable by Mimicry Lanius, it can also be searched with Rusty Bardiche and Silent Boots, two monsters you can easily tech into a Raidraptor build to give you more disruptions. And while I would never advocate for replacing Fogblade, it does do things the Misty Sword can't, namely hit hand traps and actually remove threats. And be real with me. Tell me that you're not now looking forward to the day where you summon Rise Falcon, your opponent reveals Nibiru in hand, and you flip your opponent the Claw, giving your Rise an extra 3000 attack before it even uses its own effect for a boost. So we've gone through the Aviary, what can we accomplish? Well, considering our attacking, destruction, and burn effects, we're looking to be on the beatdown, which means going second, loading up with several equalizers and hand traps before we Xyz climb our way up to our most appropriate beater. But what feathers can we add to this flock? This takes a bit of maneuvering, but if you can avoid a lockout, Strix plus any other monster is Sovereignty Cymorg. You'll have no shortage of winged beasts to summon, and all of them can be kept safe from targeting, which can be crucial for pulling off your combos. And if you can cap things off with a Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds, all the better. Tri-Brigade, once again, make for a stellar inclusion. While most of your cards may end up getting locked out, as long as you're only under Strangle's hold, Shrike can still be summoned for a wonderful piece of removal. And if you're not locked, then hey, Flajet can summon more Raidraptors out of your hand, and Lugal can bring them back to be used for later. And of course, we can't forget the legend, the myth, Blackwings Zephyros the Elite. A measly 400 life points is more than a fair deal for such a valuable extender. It has truly earned its name as the Elite. And that's all I've got for Raidraptors. PK Fire will always be where my heart is, but I've gotta say I've warmed up to these feathered friends. I look forward to the day I can fly them into battle, swinging in for unreasonable amounts of damage off a single monster, leaving a scorched earth and even more scorched monsters in our wake. Geyseris would be proud. But now, I want to hear what you think. Does the new support give Raidraptors the tailwind they need to ride the currents, or are the skies of the meta too turbulent for these towering turkeys? Make sure to let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you want to help me even more, please make sure to share this video around. If you made it this far, you probably enjoyed what you watched, and I'm sure someone else you know will too. A big thank you goes out once again to Corvus Corax, aka the Legendary Raven, for sponsoring this video, as well as FusionYGO for sponsoring our last video about Ojamas. And of course, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.